I always try not to do it too loud because I don't want to deafen anybody if the mic picks it up. But in any case, good morning. Welcome to Bay Area UU Church. I am Reverend Katie McQuage-Loukas, and my pronouns are she and hers. And before we get started today, I have some logistical things to go through. Today is our fire drill, where we will practice getting out the doors and see how long it takes and all that kind of thing. So this will occur at the very end of the service. I'm going to try to end us a little bit early. So this will be after children have gone to their classrooms. So if you've got a kiddo with you today, be aware that everybody is taking the shortest route away from the building, which means that kids are going out of totally different doors around the building and then taking routes to the rendezvous point in the parking lot. And I announce this so that you don't go try to find your children, because they will already be in motion by the time you get back there, and it will be tremendous confusion for everyone. So those of us in the sanctuary, and children and youth, if you are ever in the sanctuary when there is an actual fire, we will go out those doors and straight out to the parking lot. Just so you know, we're not going to practice it today. There is an additional exit behind me. It is a small door. It's not very big. And if the choir were here, they would be very excited about the possibility of breaking the window to climb out that way if they needed to. We're not going to do either of those today. Today, we're just going to go out those doors, straight out to the parking lot. We're going to do a little bit of timing on that, so I'll try to figure out how long it takes us to do that. And then we'll come back in for coffee, if you're coming back in for coffee or other events. Again, this will be at the end of the service, and I'm going to try to keep us a little short so that we can get all that done. So logistics complete. Let us begin again. Let us turn our minds to sacred space, take a deep breath, settle in. Not think about drills, but think about being here together. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrive today in body, in mind, in heart, or in spirit, whether you're here in person or joining us online, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whatever you brought with you, bring it in. Bring heavy hearts. Bring joyful spirits, bring worried minds, bring your gladness and companionship, bring your whole, entire self. It is all of you that we need, and all of you is welcome here. Come and let us worship together.
Good morning. My name's Terry Grimm, and my pronouns are she and her. We light the chalice this morning with words from Amanda Gorman, the first U.S. National Youth Poet Laureate, as she put themes of democracy and unity at the fore of her new poem called The Sacred Scene. Chris Rubley will light our chalice this morning. Thank you, Chris. We gather at this hallowed place because we believe in the American dream. We face a race that tests if this country we cherish shall perish from the earth, and if our earth shall perish from this country. It falls to us to ensure that we do not fall for a people that cannot stand together, cannot stand at all. We are one family, regardless of religion, class, or color. For what defines a patriot is not just our love of liberty, but our love for one another. This is loud in our country's call, because while we all love freedom, it is love that frees us all. Empathy emancipates, making us greater than hate or vanity. That is the American promise, powerful and pure. Divided, we cannot endure, but united, we can endeavor to humanize our democracy and endear democracy to our humanity. And make no mistake, cohering is the hardest task ever wrote. But tomorrow is not written by our odds of hardship, but by the audacity of our hope, by the vitality of our vote. Only now, approaching this rare air, are we aware that perhaps the American dream is no dream at all, but instead a dare to dream together. Like a million roots tethered, branching up humbly, making one tree, this is our country. From many won, from battles won, our freedom sung, our kingdom come has just begun. We redeem this sacred scene, ready for our journey. From it together we must birth this early republic and achieve an unearthly summit. Let us not just believe in the American dream, let us be worthy of it. Okay. Our opening song is number 347. Please stand as you are willing and able. Unitarian Universalism is a democratic and living tradition which continues to evolve today. Most recently, this evolution has taken the form of adapting new language to describe who we are as Unitarian Universalism. While our fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, has been replaced, it is reflected in our shared values of interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity, with love at our center. Please join me as we say our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Our responsive reading this morning is number 586, The Idea of Democracy by Abraham Lincoln. Again, it's number 586. Please join in with me on the italicized text. As labor is the common burden of our race, so the effort of some to shift their share of the burden onto the shoulders of others is the great, durable curse of the race. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. Whatever differs from this, to the extent of the difference, is no democracy. Our reliance is in our love for liberty. Our defense is in the spirit which prizes liberty as the heritage of all people in all lands everywhere. Destroy this spirit, and we have planted the seeds of despotism at our own doors. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves and cannot long retain it. Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world? Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith, let us to the end dare to do our duty as we understand it.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Miller, and I am the Religious Education Director here at Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Our story for all ages today is The President of the Jungle by Andre Rodriguez. Lion wanted a swimming pool. So, because he was king of the jungle, he rerouted the river to flow into his front yard. And now he had his pool. The other animals were not happy. They missed their river. Lion had gone too far. Maybe he should not be king of the jungle. It's ridiculous, said Monkey. Lion thinks only of himself. What if we had a new leader? We have no water. My children are thirsty. Let's protest. The animals decided to have a demonstration. They marched to Lion's swimming pool to protest. Water is for everyone. Hashtag Occupy the Jungle. Say no to the Lion's pool. Give back our river. This king needs to go. But Lion couldn't care less what they thought. So the animals decided it was time for a new leader. No more kings. Let's be a democracy. Let's hold an election. What's an election? In an election, anyone who wants to be the leader can become a candidate and put together a campaign. Each animal gets to vote for the leader, and the candidate who gets the most votes becomes president. Everyone liked the idea, so they drew up the rules for the election. Rules for the election. Number 1, we will hold an election every spring. Number 2, any animal can be a candidate. Number 3, Each animal gets 1 vote. Number 4, votes are secret. Number 5, the candidate with the most votes wins. Number 6, candidates cannot trade gifts for votes. And number 7, candidates cannot eat their opponents. Monkey, sloth, and snake were excited to become candidates. And lion didn't want to be left out, so he became a candidate too. And then the campaigns began. That lion has some nerve. King of the jungle, vote for lion. VP, lioness. My beloved subjects, I descend from a long line of kings. It was my cherished great-great-grandfather who expelled the smelly possum so the rest of us could live in peace. I provided jobs to the animals who diverted the water from the river to build my swimming pool. If something is not broken, do not fix it. For tradition, vote for lion. It's time for change. Monkey for president. VP, toucan. It's time for a lion to go. The king is sneaky and as slippery as a rotten banana peel. He said we could all swim in his pool, and now we can't. Under my leadership, everything will be different, and we will build burrows and homes for everyone. No more lies. Monkey for president. She doesn't just promise, she delivers. Snake for president. VP, mouse. I am a popular snake. I grew up in the jungle with all of you. I've crawled through burrows and nests getting to know you. We faced the great drought together, and we have survived fires and hunters. You know I will be there for you. Vote for snake. Make your vote count. Choose me. Sloth for president. VP, ladybug. My fellow animals, it is time to plan our future together. I want to hear from all of you. And please, don't judge me by my name. I am not lazy. I don't rush because good government does not happen overnight. With patience, we will make the jungle better for everyone. Vote for sloth. Each candidate got busy trying to convince the voters why they would be the best leader. They went on TV, they took selfies with voters, they handed out pamphlets, they discussed the issues, they held rallies. Some said wild things about the other candidates. They put up posters and discussed more issues. They had debates to talk about their ideas. Snake, how would you solve the bird traffic jams? Easy. Every bird will be assigned a time to fly. Why don't we ask the birds what they think? Who cares? Just tell those high flyers what to do. A snake is venomous. Well, nobody's better than me. Lion is selfish. Hey, I didn't finish what I was saying. Finally, election day arrived. The animals lined up to cast their secret votes in the ballot box. Owl was in charge of counting the votes. Unfortunately, Lion got disqualified for violating rule number 6. He had been giving voters peanuts so they would choose him. Candidates, Lion, 38, but disqualified. Snake, 28. Monkey, 29. And sloth, 32. When the votes were added up, the new president was announced, and it was Sloth. The animals all gathered to hear his victory speech. In this election, I learned so much from everybody. We each have something to say and we all should listen. Lion wants to be recognized for all his work. Monkey wants us to have food and shelter. Snake and I agree that we are stronger when we work together. The first thing I will do as president is create a team to help us make the jungle a great place for every animal. And that is the story of how sloth became the jungle's first president. Of course, not everyone was happy with the election results, so it was a good thing that there would be another election next year.
So Dex will be our keeper of the flame. Please join me as we say, we pass this flame of religious freedom from generation to generation.
In recent weeks, a couple of things have been on my heart. The need, week after week, to light a candle for peace, and the need, week after week, it seems lately, for a candle for us and this community itself. All Souls is approaching, and we will take a moment then to remember our year of losses. But today, we will light a special candle for Louise Peck, who died this week. My internship congregation had a practice of lighting a red candle at every service before we lit our own candles. And this was the moment for people at the pulpit to name specific community cares. And we named ourselves as a community of memory and of hope, acknowledging our roots in our past and our growth into the future. Louise Peck was one of the original founders of this church. She was present at the birth of this place we call our spiritual home, and she embodied the memory of this community. She also embodied its hope. She delighted in the journey of this church as it grew and changed and as it transformed over the years. And so I will light this red candle for her. And we affirm that we are a beating heart, a heart of hope and of memory, carrying a legacy, but also creating our own legacy as we live out our mission to change lives and transform the world. Let us hold a moment of silence for Louise Peck, for her family, for her friends, for all who knew her, including ourselves. I've also been lighting our first candle, it feels like, for many weeks for peace. Not every week, but many. And there have been many reasons to despair at the violence of our world. As the warfare in the Middle East expands to include Lebanon and Iran, as the war in Ukraine drags on and on, we must remind ourselves to hold steady and to bear witness. When Russia initially invaded the Ukraine, we began lighting blue and yellow candles every Sunday. My internship congregation still lights them, I think, and those candles have come to stand for peace in many ways. not just for Ukraine, but for other conflicts. And I have today for us a candle for peace, fresh and white and full of hope, because I believe that we human beings can do better and can be better. Tomorrow is the one-year mark of the attack on Israeli civilians, and there are still today hostages with unknown or uncertain fates, still families awaiting their return. There are tens of thousands dead in Gaza. Over 5% of the Gazan population is gone, literal genocide. And now Lebanon is being bombarded at higher rates than some officially declared war zones. As an American, I know something of what it means to see my nation and my people respond to violence with greater violence, to visit the wrath of our armies on whole regions. And I don't think that gives me the right to cast judgment, but it does give me the right to name what I see, which is vengeance and destruction with no path to justice or peace. And so today I will light a peace candle, and I offer this candle-lighting prayer from Rabbi Brant Rosen, his blessing for Gaza. Blessed is the light that illumines the path to Olam Haba, the world to come, where bombs falling from above have long since melted into the spreading calm of a distant horizon, where the dispossessed and expelled have no other memories than the softness of arms reaching out to welcome them home. Blessed is the light that shows us the way forward, and blessed is Shabbat, this moment filling us endlessly with the vision of a world liberated, inspiring us with the strength to make it so. From our community to the world community, it is my hope that lighting these particular candles week after week will help us to hold the world and our community, and that will help us also make space for our own joys and sorrows, because our own hearts matter too, and they matter deeply. They are no less important for not being front page news. So whatever you have brought in the door with you this week, whether joy or sorrow or worry or hope or celebration, whatever it is, even if it's all of these things at once, I invite you to bring it forward, that we might all share in it with you. Remember that whatever it is you bring to this place, you are not alone in it. Others have felt it and do feel it and will continue to feel it with you. We witness you, and we witness the things you carry. If you would light a candle, like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand. We hold in our hearts all of these things brought forward and shared, and we hold in our hearts things not yet ready to share. And for all of these things and many more, will you please join with me in prayer? Spirit of life and love, Spirit of justice, in a world that so often feels unbearable, in a world of violence and oppression, a world that deprives so many of us of dignity or of sovereignty, remind us that you live in us. Remind us that you come into being when we lift up one another, that we shape you and form you through our own community care and through our own democratic processes, and that we have the power to effect change even when we cannot see it. Remind us that our commitment to democracy, to the dignity of the companions on our life's journey, that this is the heart of our faith. This is the manifestation of the love at the heart of all things. Help us to meet this moment with clarity, to hold fast to what is important, and to set aside that which distracts us. Help us to meet this moment with discernment and faith, trusting that our judgment and our choices will be enough to create the world we envision in our dreams. Spirit of life, may we remember that we are enough because we are not alone in our quest for love and justice. May we remember that it is we who are your instruments, empowered to be peacemakers, to be justice makers, and called to love the hell out of this world. Amen, and may it be so. Please remain seated for our meditation hymn, Spirit of Life, which we are going to sing once through in English and then try in Spanish.
Our reading this morning is titled, Democracy May Not Exist, but We'll Miss It When It's Gone, by Astra Taylor. As with many other liberalizing nations of the late 18th century, the Republic did not consider the majority of its residents to be members of the polity. Enslaved and indigenous people, all women, poor white men, certain immigrants, and some religious groups were denied rights, including the most basic right of citizenship, the right to cast a ballot. These founding inequities, only fitfully and incompletely redressed, continue to shape our present. As numerous academic studies show, the national agenda is set by plutocrats and well-represented interests, while the preferences of the broad population have virtually no impact on public policy. The inequalities that plague us today are not an aberration nor the result of whichever party happens to be in power, but a plausible result of the political system's very design, which in crucial ways was devised by a restricted and privileged class of men. When we stop to ask what democracy means, we'll notice that a good number of the practical and philosophical problems plaguing us are not exactly novel. They are as old as democracy itself. The challenges are timeless. Is democracy a means or an end? A process or a set of finite outcomes? What if those outcomes, whatever they may be, peace, prosperity, sustainability, equality, liberty, and engaged citizenry, can be achieved by non-democratic means? If democracy means rule by the people, what is the nature and extent of that rule, and who counts as the people? We may think we are on the cutting edge, charting a socially unprecedented course, but the fight for justice, freedom, and self-rule, and the profound difficulties of realizing these democratic ideals necessarily entails grappling with age-old dilemmas anew.
Given the other moving parts in our service, I know that this is going to be shorter than it deserves. And so first, for those of you who were not here right on the dot, we are doing our fire drill today. The sanctuary exit plan is through those main doors, hang a left to the parking lot. All of our routes are designed to move us away from the building as quickly as possible. So that means that people using other doors are going to come around and meet us in the parking lot the long way, just so you know. I'll ring some bells and we'll head out there. I don't have enough time to do full justice to this subject, but the election approaches whether I like it or not. And it seems appropriate and necessary to remind all of us that as Unitarian Universalists, the thing we truly value is democracy itself. If we believe in worth and dignity, if we believe in love and justice, we are saying that it is possible for a collective group of ordinary people to make the decisions that guide our lives. We're not only saying it's possible, we're saying it is the most likely way to achieve best possible outcomes. And this can look different in different situations. Sometimes that will mean direct voting, like our congregational meetings. Sometimes that means trusting our representatives to make decisions, such as the board. Sometimes that means voting, where multiple positions get hashed out, and then there's an up or down, and the majority moves forward with a decision. And sometimes that means trying to build consensus positions through longer processes. All of these ways that democratic processes arise are part of our commitment, our belief in human potential. The belief that there is no elite class with greater ability. The commitment to a collective community bringing together everyone's abilities and knowledge. And this goes way, way back in our history. It goes all the way back to our Puritan forebears. No priests and eventually no kings, just us together figuring it out. And this is our Unitarian Universalist political theology. Everyone has a political theology from humanist to theists, because what we're really talking about is this deeply embedded sense of how the world works, this belief about who human beings are and how we are to be together. And this is in the back of our minds all the time, whenever we're interacting with others and whenever we're thinking about the systems that guide our lives. We have an ideal world in our mind, and we do our best to live it out in reality. Many of us, I think, are familiar with the forms of Christian nationalism that are currently major drivers in American politics. And I actually want to talk about some other things today. So just a quick note that a lot of Christian nationalism does see itself as democratic. It isn't. It values the contributions of some more than others, but it understands itself to be a populist movement of real Americans. And today I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about what happens when people give up on democracy or were never committed to it in the first place. There's often a binary set up between Christian nationalist politics and more secular liberal politics, and I want to break that binary open to show some of the other pieces that are currently active in our American politics. To define some terms, I'm using liberal in a very broad definition, much broader than we usually use in politics, because I think it's important to understand why what I'm about to talk about is such a fringe outlier. These are people who understand everything post-Enlightenment to be liberal. Whether libertarian or progressive, it's still a conversation about liberty, about who has freedom and why. And all of these political parties are more or less occupying the same territory. They're having the same arguments over the same frame of reference, just different balances, different arrangements. The free market, freedom of religion, both liberal in the broadest possible sense. And in this broad sense, this is why we call ourselves a liberal religion. Not because we have left of center politics, though certainly many of us do, but because we value liberty. We are willing to accept or even delight in the ambiguity and complexity that arises under that liberty. But what happens when one gives up on that, when complexity and ambiguity are inherently dangerous things leading to instability and conflict? Those who call themselves post-liberals are seeking a return to tradition and a different kind of conservatism. They argue that liberalism as it stands relies on values of dying traditions, and that when those values fade away, liberty will turn into utter chaos. And at its heart, this instinct has long undergirded politics in the United States, the fear of change, a longing for order and stability. And in the normal range of conservative values, we hear, don't fix what isn't broken, we hear, slow down. But there are movements that take that impulse all the way back to this imagined pre-Enlightenment era. I'm going to lean rather heavily on a poli-sci professor named Patrick Deneen here because he writes for a popular audience. I have read all the long law review articles in school, and I really don't want to do it again. So we're going to stick with a somewhat more popular approach. And he put out a book several years ago on the death of liberalism and its collapse. And he danced around and refused to say what he thought should take its place until last year when he put out his new book, Regime Change. He writes, what is needed and what ordinary people instinctively seek is stability, order, continuity, and a sense of gratitude for the past and obligation for the future. What people want without knowing the word for it is a conservatism that conserves, a form of liberty no longer abstract from our place and people, but embedded in our duties and mutual obligations. Formative institutions in which all are expected to participate as shared social utilities. An elite that respects and supports the basic commitments and conditions of the populace, and a populace that renders its ruling class responsible to the protection of the common good. What is needed, in short, is regime change, the peaceful but vigorous overthrow of a corrupt and corrupted liberal ruling class, and the creation of a post-liberal order in which existing forms remain in place as long as a different ethos informs institutions and the personnel who populate key offices and positions. And so notice that this post-liberal order will look the same, but the ethos will be different. There will be a ruling class responsible for the common good. He continues that this change is not a revolutionary uprising, but will require class traders to act on behalf of the working class, articulating the actual motives and effects of widespread elite actions. An elite cadre skilled at directing and elevating popular resentments, combined with the political power of the many, can bolster populist political prospects as a working governmental and institutional force. So I'll repeat a bit of that. An elite cadre skilled at directing and elevating popular resentments, combined with the political power of the many, can bolster populist political prospects as a working governmental and institutional force. If you have read all those really long law review articles, and I'm so sorry if you have, you will know that you will hear echoes. The leading thinker of common good constitutionalism is a man named Adrian Vermeule. He's a Harvard law professor, and he argues that the purpose of the Constitution is not, in fact, to protect liberty, but to promote the common good. Before he was at Harvard Law, he clerked for Scalia. He's a convert to Catholicism, and it is in this place that I hope you see an intersection, for Deneen is also a Catholic, and they're clerking for Supreme Court justices, and they're operating under a different worldview. They're socially conservative, but fiscally liberal. The government doesn't need to be small enough to drown in the bathtub, in the phrase of Grover Norquist. It needs to be used for the common good by a ruling elite. And I don't want to blame Catholics here because this is fringe. This is really fringe stuff. In the same way that your average Presbyterian is not engaging in fringe evangelical Protestant politics. But if some of you have been wondering why the right wing of the country seems to be using different rules lately, I think this is part of the reason. And I'm going to run out of time. There's another sermon somewhere about the atheist radical right, men like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, the people who say openly that democracy has failed and that it's time for a new oligarchy of the rich technocrats. And the amount of money that these folks spend in our election is tremendous. And so it's worth spending some time delving into their thought leaders, such as they are. The ideas and interests of those who want a CEO to run the country are not that far removed from those who would have a ruling class devoted to their idea of a common good. This, too, is a form of political theology. They wouldn't use that language themselves, but their sincerely held beliefs about human nature and about which human beings are worthy of what form of life has led them to a particular view of what government should be, and I think this matters. We are Unitarian Universalists. While we are moving pretty consistently over time to a more communal understanding of our faith tradition, the fact is that we are rooted just as much in a love of liberty as we are in a love for each other. Both of these things are true. We not only commit to political democracy, but we commit to religious democracy, the belief that all of us have brought something of value to our community, not just in terms of our service work and our justice work, but in terms of our spirits and even our spiritual practices. We believe that all our collective knowledge, political and religious, is inherently valuable. If anyone is navigating rough waters this election season or is exhausted by the work, I hope that this idea, our faith commitment to democracy, is helpful to you. I hope it is a source of strength and a source of direction. And I hope that we all remember that we are called to be a democratic people in all our ways, in this place and beyond it. Remember that we believe, as a matter of our faith in democracy, that it will win in the end. And that if we commit to our work together, that work itself, the actual work of democracy, is the thing that will carry us through to the other side. Amen, and may it be so. This is the moment in our service when we practice gratitude and generosity, when we think of our own abundance and how we can contribute to the work of this community here, but also beyond its walls. Now is the offering. Please give as generously as you are able, and it will be gratefully received.
Thank you. Please join me in saying, "This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world." Now, we're keeping announcements very short, but you've got lots of places to look for what's happening, including your order of service and our Tuesday bulletin. But there are many ways in which our community lives out our mission to change lives and heal the world. Here are just two of those ways. Be sure to join us after the service today in the youth room for the Unputdownable United Silent Book Club of Unitarian Universalists. We'll share a light lunch, read for an hour, and then talk about what we're reading. So come back from the fire drill for that. This Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., please join us in the sanctuary for a special peace vespers. It has been 1 year since the Hamas attack on Israeli citizens and since the beginning of Israel's devastating and destructive war in response to that attack. At Vespers this week, we will light candles for that great sorrow and with hope for a future with more justice and more peace. Our closing hymn is number 119. Please rise as you are willing and able.
We didn't get out all that early, but I'm working on it, My chalice extinguishing, I want to reprise a piece from Amanda Gorman. We redeem this sacred scene, ready for our journey. From it together we must birth this early republic and achieve an unearthly summit. Let us not just believe in the American dream, let us be worthy of it. Amen. Go in peace. Let us make our way to the parking lot.